structure being messed up, creating that wealth from DNA to knowledge to finances helps a lot. That mirror behind you is stunning. I'm always captivated by it. Thank you so much. And the mirror and why I'm sitting here is intentional because I'm binding all negative energy and reflecting that back to whoever is trying to send it in my direction. So if you're here to bring harm to me or to try to, throw dirt on my name or to try to derail my intention in my conversation, this mirror behind me is to reflect that back to you. Okay? My pineal is illuminated. Yeah, for sure. We get a field trip today. Exactly. Peace to you from Sweden and much love watching the playback. I hope you appreciate it. Volta said, I'll take triple. You'll take a triple episode of ZaZa in one day? Okay. It really is like a regular 3 hour, headline news episode, if you will. She did not make it in Oakland. She did not make it in Atlanta. Now she thinks she can conquer LA. What are you even talking about? And you got the name to have the last name Muhammad. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to be highlighting these comments. I'm actually like giving it a little bit of time and letting some people tune in. Volta said, "Why give them light? Because it's my platform, and I can do that if I want to. I just like to put people on the mat. I'm a spiritual warrior." So sometimes it's necessary to address these type of things. So the same thing applies to you if you want to send me a message to info@zazaali.com and come and have a conversation with me face to face. You can. Hard truth is already out of here. Yeah, I know some of you guys don't you don't like when I address negativity, but like I said in the triggers and anxiety video, that words are powerful and people just hurling off insults, while you guys might not like for me to address it, the insult still is it hits me. You know what I mean? So you might not want to talk about it or hear it, or you might want me to ignore it a certain type of way, but that doesn't have anything with the way that these things affect me. So if something is said or somebody addresses me in a certain type of way and I feel it's disrespectful, I'm going to address it. That's just what it is. And it's interesting that, because, I don't really get these type of comments on my videos unless I talk about things that are trending or specific types of topics, right? And so this is one of those topics that brings all of that negative, low vibrational energy, because it is mostly people who are locked in that frequency that are talking about these things in the first place. So one of the people in the comments mentioned FBA and referenced tethers and also Latinos. Let me just make sure to make this clear, and hopefully, anybody that comes in the comments later that represents this mindset or ideology, you guys can kind of back this up and remind them in the comments. I don't represent the FBA. I know what it means. I know the purpose of it. I understand all those things. I'm not here representing that. I'm not here representing Black people. Actually, I'm here representing God, the true and living God. But I'm addressing something specifically, as the videos are going to show in just a second. But I'm here for God and to add value and to raise the vibration and to assist the 5% of the 5%, or the children of God on this planet. We've already passed the timeline for race-based consciousness. So this is why when we say all skin folk and kin folks, this is that type of conversation, right? So anytime you start dealing with the intricacies and the problems and issues that are happening, whether it's Black on African or Black on Black, or all these different sort of levels and layers that are happening in our cultures, and I say cultures plural, that's when all of this negative, weird energy starts coming in. But you notice when I'm talking about self-awareness, self-accountability, the power of the mind, frequency, vibration, spirituality, these people don't show up. That's why I talk about that type of content all the time, because I don't really want to be around these type of people. Not in real life, not in, the social media internet world, not in none of that. But this is the nature, this is the flip side of having to do what it is that I do. So the FBA conversation, I don't want to get linked into that. I'm not with that. I don't refer to Africans as tethers. I think that's disrespectful. I just wrote a history textbook, and 2 of the chapters in my history textbook cover African history and African culture. I am a student of African history, just like I'm a student of our people here. And even beyond that, I'm here for the 5% of the 5%. So whether they're in Africa, whether they're in South America, whether they're in the United States, I'm talking about a bandwidth of conscious, a specific intentional vibration that's operating on this planet that is doing the will of God. And a lot of Black people in America are not. And a lot of Black people in Africa are not. So that's when I say we've passed the stage of race-based consciousness. That's a prime example of that. Y'all just bear with me when I have to stop, because now I have to monitor the chat room. This is why I don't like doing lives anymore. I don't like having to deal with this stuff. This is why I'm glad I have my own membership channel. Roy says ZaZa is a bad mama jamma, just as fine as she could be. I don't know about that, but this is crazy. You see the type of energy that comes up when, you know what I mean? When I talk about this type of stuff, this is why, and I think it's really unfair for people to expect people who do what I do to just come on here and have people in the comments just being disrespectful and throwing shots. I don't know if you guys know what it feels like to be on the other side of this. Okay. Some of those are bots, but some of those are real people, you know? So let me pull up my presentation real quick before I get sidetracked. They're trying to have me go full-fledged war mode, and I ain't even, I ain't even on that vibration yet today. Like, not at all. I want to address some things, but yes, this could be a really wicked place. And you wonder why, like, these social media influencers, which I don't consider myself, even though I do use social media to influence as a means of influence. I'm a writer and an author who happens to be on social media, but people checking out and taking their own lives from having to deal with this stupid shit, which I will never do, but I'm just saying. No, I don't want to put it on subscriber only. I want to allow everybody to be able to talk and communicate. I don't want it just to be my subscribers, but I also am going to address anything that I feel like needs to be addressed. Is it 18 minutes? Have I been live for 18 minutes? Yeah, we'll rock with it. I'll just monitor the chat room. It's all good. I'll work double time, So this is my flyer right here. ZaZa Ali live in LA, a Divine New World Order, Saturday, September 13th. Doors open at 5 p.m. I'll be speaking at Soul Folks in Los Angeles. I'm doing a book signing as well as a book reading of Ancient People, my most recent book, a social studies and history textbook. My lecture title is A Divine New World Order. My subjects are the sacred geometry of self, the rise of the divine feminine, the chosen ones choose themselves, spiritual warfare, and the kingdom within. I'm going to talk about all of those things on that date. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, the information is in the description for you to get access to tickets. The date of the event, tickets are going to be $44, so you can still get the early bird special. We're like literally less than a week away right now, and I'm super excited about this event. And much love to everybody who has already purchased tickets. I appreciate you. Oh, you can't see the flyer because I haven't even shared my page. Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, there we go. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. Okay, so that's the flyer on the left. Yeah, and the link is in the description if you want to get tickets to come. And again, if you purchase tickets the day of, it will be. Uh, my train of thought just lost me. It'll be $44 on the day of, so you can still get the early bird special right now. Also, for the next 48 hours, I'm running all of these different specials because I'm working on this project that I'm trying to launch before my event. The first one is 10% off of my book, Ancient People, the hardcover version. This is the final version of the book right here. And next Monday, the books are arriving on Wednesday. Next Monday, this book is going up to $144. That's going to be the final cost of the book. Right now, you can still purchase it for $111, and you can also get 10% off today and tomorrow, 48 hours only. And again, next Monday, this book is going up to the final cost, which is going to be $144. So today would definitely be the day to purchase the book if you are interested, and your book will ship out at the beginning of next week because the books are going to be here Wednesday, and I'm going to be super busy over the weekend getting all of that stuff set up. Also, 25% off of all of my workbooks, physical workbooks. The information for that is in the description. The code 10% off of all ebook versions of my workbooks. I'm doing one super special 5 consultation special with ZaZa. That is 5 consultations for $300. That is $60 per consultation. I don't think I've ever offered my consultations that low. I have one spot for that. And I put that down there. I got the tickets for the LA Early Bird. I got the live ZaZa Live special price for 2 tickets. And then I'm testing this out. So this is a test. And I mentioned this in my last live, climbing the ladder of yourself, but for men only. I'm testing this out to see if my brothers will be interested in doing this. It's the same version that I do for women, but it's going to be space for 5 men only. I'm interested to see the response that I get and to see if I can get 5 brothers that are actually interested in working with me in a group of other brothers for a 6-month capacity. So the link is in the description for all of that information. And all of this stuff is going to be available only for 48 hours. It's all going to expire at the end of Monday or maybe this time on Tuesday, 48-hour time length. So you guys support me in this because I'm working on a project and something that I'm really excited about. Also, my Cash App information. I don't think it's in the description, but I will put it there. So if you want to send a super chat, send it to me Cash App, and then I will add you guys to my membership channel if you send me an email. That's an extra little plug for that as well. So let me get started. These non-credentialed hoods, boy, this is. It seems to be men here, only here in the chat. Yeah, it's not only men. There's sisters in here. You notice this topic and what this topic brings. This is why I don't talk about this type of stuff. Because it's just like, wow, I'll never have this type of energy in my chat. So this is a map and I wanted to start out with this because I'm not on this frequency, this argument, this issue that's super like, active in the culture right now, whether it's from the African perspective, whether it's from the Black American perspective. I'm not on this vibration, but I'm in a spiritual space and I understand how much broader the importance of what's happening in the world is right now beyond this. But what we're not going to do is have all these different people from wherever they are in the world, whatever they represent, throwing darts and bullets at Black people in America and making us the focal point of all of their negativity, because all of that negative projection bears a toll. So this is the map of what is called Pangea. This is how the planet originally looked before the tectonic plates shifted and all of these different continents separated. And you can tell easily that at one time all of these land masses were connected. So instead of Africa being over here and America being over here and Europe being over here and like the separation, at one time all of these land masses were one. So then the question becomes, well, where is the seat of civilization, so to speak, where the first human beings were born? Well, anthropologists and modern scholars of the Western world tell us that Africa was, where the first Lucy, who is the first sort of physical representation of, the mitochondrial DNA, and how she pinpoints back to being the first being that was located that proved, first of all, the theory of evolution, that we evolved from monkeys, which I don't agree with at all. But then also the theory of evolution, the theory of Darwinism, the theory of natural selection were all born out of those things. So the question then becomes, well, first of all, do you trust the Europeans who actually created this ideology? And the answer to that is absolutely not. And then the second thing becomes, have been proven skeletons that have been found all over North America that date back to millions of years old, and probably all over the world for that matter. That's not mainstream information. They're not making that information readily accessible to us, and it's for a reason, right? So as far as I'm concerned, and in my next textbook, Black Legacy, I'm gonna open the book up, and talk about the original people of the Americas, the Native American aspect as we know it, but then also the Black American aspect as most of us don't know, because there is a lot of sufficient evidence in order to be able to back that up. So some of us were already here. Some of us came from Africa through the migration process and through, traveling on their own accord. And then some of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. All Black people in America did not come from the transatlantic slave trade. It's important that we understand that. It's important that we understand that they've steered us in a specific direction for a very specific reason. I have to stay mindful of this this chat room now. Thank you, Brother Jamil. I appreciate you. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you. The continental drift. Yes, exactly. Peace, Saint Germain. Our people weren't, but Europeans were. You can see it in the bloodlines. I'm not exactly sure which part of that you're referring to, maybe in the Americas. But so I wanted to start with this again because I think it's important for us to broaden our scope in terms of, how we're looking at these things and how we're talking about these things, because to me, this nullifies a lot of these arguments. The amount of time that we spend chasing arguments and chasing reasons to fight and chasing reasons to avoid ourselves, because that's all this is, another reason for us to avoid the real shit that's going on. Just like how Young Thug is trending because he was in jail snitching and talking and telling everybody business, pillow talking on a prison payphone. It's a fascinating concept. But yeah, we want to talk about everything except the real stuff, which is why when I talk about things that I think are important, it doesn't get as much attention as these type of conversations do. Let me see what my first slide is. Okay, yeah.
African American.
So this is the gentleman that triggered me, but then inspired me to have this conversation today. His name is Frank Zanu Adizigbe. He's a U.S. citizen born in the Republic of Benin, West Africa. He has worked as a reporter for the New York Tribune and photojournalist for the Washington Times station in South Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Bulgaria, and other African countries. He has served on many boards in the U.S., including as vice chair of the International Institute of Connecticut, chair of the Mayor's Youth Initiative Project, and commissioner of the City of Bridgeport Fair Rent Commission. Now, normally, if I was doing a headline news episode, I would have got all in this guy's background. I would have looked and saw where he went to school from. I would have looked and seen who's financing his platforms, because I can guarantee you somebody is financing his platform, and I can guarantee you that he probably went to a university in Europe somewhere, maybe one of the upper echelon white institutions in America, because he is an African with a white man's mind. Okay? So I wanted to introduce him. I'm going to play these 3 clips that I took directly from his site. I have turned down so many debates over the years because it's just, it's not something that I'm interested in at this point. I should have did it when I was in college, but I was too focused on history. This dude I would debate. So if anybody watches this who follows him or who has access to him, I would debate you on any topic pertaining to anything that we're talking about here, live, in front of the world, or we could do it face to face. I would debate him, and I would debate anybody that shares this particular mindset. Okay?
African Americans in this country are the only groups. They have no culture. It depends on who you meet, where you meet them.
But currently, there's not an African American culture?
No.
Yes, there is.
What is it? Name 2 value systems in the African American culture.
Value systems?
Yes. Name 2 taboos in the African American culture system. Name 2 traditions, by the way, in the African American culture system. There is no value for freedom if you don't understand what it is. The concept of free. You have to have a foundation on which it would balance when you ask for it. Civil rights, they give it to you. You have no culture. Nancy, you've been here, born here. Why would you be surprised if I say African Americans don't have a culture? What, twerking? So, anything
but I feel like African American culture has definitely
you say
mainstream.
No, you say the word, the African American culture. What is it? Okay,
fine.
Like
hip hop.
Oh,
not hip hop. I mean, I don't want to. Yes, I feel like
you haven't thought about it. It's fine. Don't make things up.
I'm not making it up.
Okay,
I feel like
then educate me. You feel. You should know. You were born and raised here.
Yes, but I have a Haitian.
Are you African American?
I'm Haitian American.
That's correct. Do you see why you were being specific with that? Because anybody who encounters you already knows you before. If they know you are Haitian, at least 2 things come to their mind.
What is that?
If they've been to Haiti, they can look at work ethics and they say, yes, Haitians, I know them. Service industry, they know. This is our way of life. The do's and the don'ts involved in our culture. Even you have to create an artificial culture.
Is that why the civil rights movement is considered dead?
It's dead and useless. They got it, but they could not balance it on any foundation.
I wish I could be blessed to be in a room when these conversations are being had. And then you're having this conversation with somebody who's not even an actual Black American, so she's not putting up any sort of defense. The fact that she responded and said hip hop, right after he said twerking. I'm going to get to the twerking aspect in just a second. So he's from Benin, right? So now again, if I was doing headline news, I would have went and really did my research but I just posed the questions, and perhaps he can answer, or somebody who can answer this for him. What is the current poverty rate in Benin? What is the GDP or equivalent in Benin? What is the Jim Jones juice statistic of people in that particular country that have actually taken that shot? Not just the COVID shot, but then for the past 30 years, the inoculation program that's been happening all over Africa, which I talked about in my first book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, because, for the sake of Black culture, I was doing investigation in order to protect and to alert and inform you and your people all over the continent, though. He referenced taboos. A taboo is a cultural prohibition against certain behaviors, words, foods, or other practices stemming from a strong sense of what is forbidden or sacred. Taboos vary significantly between cultures and can have origins in religion, social orders, psychological needs, or for explanation and order. While some taboos, like cannibalism, protect societal well-beings, others, such as certain social custom words, simply reinforce cultural norms and can lead to social ostracism or legal consequences if violated. So let's put a pin in that for just a second and come back to these videos.
The KKK, aren't they part of the white supremacy group?
I've been to their headquarters when I used to work in Shelton, and I've gone on their website. Mm-hmm. They simply said that they believe that white should remain white. They don't want to mix their race, and therefore they don't encourage interracial marriage. Mm-hmm. They want to, just like the Koreans are doing today, just like the Japanese and the Chinese and Indians all over. They don't affect anybody's life. What I'm trying to say is this: that Asians who live in America, they're not white. You never find them on television crying that their business is not working well because of white supremacists. Middle Eastern people live in America, they're not white. Why is it that the white supremacists only affect Black people and not the others who are not white?
So white supremacists don't go out and terror people?
Okay, wait a minute. You guys are saying in the chat room you can't hear anything? You guys can't hear me? Let me know if you can hear me in the chat room before I start talking again. Okay, Jamil said he can hear. I don't know when the sound went out because I could hear it the whole time. It's really annoying to hear Africans diss our Black Americans because they don't know. Okay, trying to keep up with you guys in the chat room. Thank you so much, Saint Germain, for the super chats. I appreciate you. The sound went out for a second a few minutes ago. All right, cool. So I'll start this one over then.
African Americans in this country are the
KKK, aren't they part of the white supremacy group?
I've been to their headquarters when I used to work in Shelton, and I've gone on their website. Mm-hmm. They simply said that they believe that white should remain white. They don't want to mix their race, and therefore they don't encourage interracial marriage. Mm-hmm. They want to, just like the Koreans are doing today, just like the Japanese and the Chinese and Indians all over. They don't affect anybody's life. What I'm trying to say is this: that Asians who live in America, they're not white. You never find them on television crying that their business is not working well because of white supremacists. Middle Eastern people live in America, they're not white. Why is it that the white supremacists only affect Black people and not the others who are not white?
So white supremacists don't go out and terror people. White supremacists don't go and lynch people. White supremacists don't go out and threaten people.
KKK Americans did lynch people in the South during the slavery. Mm-hmm. KKK burned torches on people's lawns because they don't want you to be in their neighborhoods. I would describe it that way. A group of people did that. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, but why do you keep saying white supremacists? So let me ask, maybe it's a grammar. When you say white supremacists, what do you mean?
a group of people who believe that they are superior than any other race.
So what does it mean when you repeat it? These white supremacists, what does it mean?
That's a good point.
So white supremacy was created by us to describe something we're confused about.
So you're saying black folks created that name white supremacy?
That's correct. From Africa. From Africa. Because we are just amazed by the things they've done. Well, we describe them always by inventions. When you take a toy and the toy is talking and it's moving, you're like, oh my God. Because yes, my people are not sophisticated. You know.
Why would we call a white person a white supremacist if, you know, well, I think it's because we were enslaved.
No, not. It is just observing the mere industrialization of their environment, which we haven't done. That's all. They can command water from far away through tubes into their bedrooms. We can even fetch a bucket of water from the next lake. We will be drowned. They can put electricity. We never had one in Africa. They have airplanes fly over us. It's amazing. Everything they've done is the reason my people say these people are superior, not because of slavery. They came to colonize us and they brought things we have never seen before. They gave a king a mirror and he was dancing and sold his people away. They brought guns we have never seen. Boom, kill somebody right away. You know what they used to do in the Congo? They put dynamite in the rocks and then they hide the switch. And then when they point their finger, it go boom. And the Congolese till today, they call the white man kiboom, the sound of the dynamite. And then they go down and they go like this. If they're not superior, why do you see every picture when a white man arrives in Africa, we're bowing to them? The Portuguese, in my own town, Gele, all of these people, as soon as the Portuguese showed up, everybody was bowing. We have never seen a gun kill a human being. We have never seen a mirror. We have never seen a radio tune in and somebody speaking from England, the Queen's voice. So for us, all these things, this form must be really superior and close to God. They used to have a joke in Ghana that when God said, let's pray, the white man opened his eyes. The black people were covering his eyes. So the white man saw how God created the world. That's why they are so good at what they do. And I'm telling you, these are folklores from which we grew up. If anyone told you that white people came to Africa to tell us they're superior, it's a lie. They never said that.
Thank you. Shakizi said he is dissing Africans as well. I mean, the level of self-hate and ignorance. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not just the fact that he said these things, right? Because if it was just him talking, I would be addressing this, but maybe I wouldn't be, making such a full, well-rounded conversation about this. But I'm going to show you guys some of the comments in the chat. The comments is what was throwing me, right? Because the comments, I mean, of course, it was black people like defending it and challenging him. But there were a lot of people who allegedly, if what is being represented in the chat were actually true, that were like backing this up, right? So he clearly is pointing to his people worshiping white people. He just said it. The concept of white supremacy comes from when they came to our homeland. We were so in awe because they had mirrors and they created, systems to access water and all these things, which, what are you talking about? There were major advanced civilizations all over the continent before white people arrived. You never heard of Mali and Shanghai. You never heard of Kemet. There were plenty, right? And then the point about being taking away from or not being able to acknowledge, not just in Africa, not just in Black America, all around the entire world, melanated people have a long standing history of being at the foot of or being at the tail end of having to deal with what happened when Europeans came into their lands. They raped the women. They created a culture of mixed race children who eventually they used to stand in their place when they left, right? They robbed the natural resources. They bought diseases with them. They wiped out the majority of the original indigenous Hawaiian people, the ancient Polynesians, through just contact. They wiped out millions of Native Americans through just contact. So I think it was Mao Zedong, if I remember correctly, who said no investigation, no right to speak. I'm going to quote that several times because just what this dude just said was so blatantly ignorant. And notice he's not talking about his homeland at all. Y'all pardon me, I gotta like keep doing this stop and go thing because I gotta monitor the comments now. And he said, I don't think this man represents continental Africans at all. This man represents a lot more people's mindset than we actually care to admit. And even when back in Oakland, well, not just back in Oakland, because I have experiences with Africans in having real conversations, but in the book, What is the What? When the brother was relaying when they were leaving Rwanda to come to America because they were seeking refuge from that, remember the 10,000 boys, 10,000 wandering boys who made it through the desert of Rwanda. He said that the women in his country told them to beware of Black Americans when they come here, to not trust us and to particularly not trust our women. So this is not just like a one-man show. He might be way more gang goofy and worshiping the white man and ignorant and self-hating than most people care to admit publicly. And he probably doesn't represent the majority of people on the continent for sure. But again, my thing is, we got the whole conversation with DEI. We got Trump nationalizing guards and sending federal troops out in predominantly Black cities. We got taking history out of the history books. We have an ongoing continuity of trying to project negativity on Black people in America, and it's just not going to happen. There has to be a conversation that provides a buffer between us and them, because what we do know, while we're talking about Africa being a central focus and hub for economic advancement in 2020 moving forward, 2025 moving forward, and it should be because of the multitude of natural resources there, we know that this is a spiritual war, and we know that Africa is not equipped to lead us or any of the melanated people around the world through a spiritual war. That's just a fact. And it's no knock, because Africa was a hub and a mecca for spirituality at one point in time until they lost control of it. Until they started the lack of advancement, the lack of challenge, because there was no challenge, right? Which is one of the main reasons why the white man was allowed to come in the first place. No continuity of growth and development, not just in physical things and buildings, but internally advancing the spiritual systems, advancing the Meduneter, right? Advancing the wisdom of Imhotep and the Kabbalion and all of these wonderful books with these volumes of wisdom and information, not to mention the fact that they burned 60,000 books in Kemet, right? So we paid a price. Those of us who came over here on boats paid a certain type of price, and then those who were left there paid a certain type of price. Imagine if they took your best and brightest. Imagine if they came to America right now and took our best and brightest, our builders, our philosophers, our thinkers, our writers, our scribes, our healers, all of the people that make a civilization. Imagine if they came and took all of that out and left us with the genetically modified niggas, which we're going to talk about in just a second, right? Because he's watching the program that is being put before him just like everybody else is, and they think that all Black people are thugs and hoes. He doesn't understand, like I talked about in my book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs. They created intentionally a variation of our people here that are absolutely 1,000% out of their mind, ignorant, deaf, dumb, and blind, and operating on NPC time. That's a fact. I put my, hold on, let me check this out.
Mr. Zanu. See, Mr. Zanu.
Hold on, King, just 1 second. And I got the African perspective on this.
And remember,
make sure.
I spoke about how South Africa doesn't have seeds last time. And many people didn't understand what I was talking about. The country is currently making all its...
Mr. Zanu.
Y'all pardon me. I have to stay abreast with this, with the chat room. You see what I'm saying? This is, listen. this is the extra work that I have to do now, just to come and have a conversation with y'all, and to have. Okay, so in the comments, this was the thing that got me right. So this person, and yes, some of these people are trolls. Yes, some of these people are bots. Some of these people are real. I do this for a living. I have been dealing with this for so long, and like, you know, reading the comments and then the comments after the comments. I don't want us to get too haughty to where we don't start recognizing the being aware of the situational awareness, right? So this person said over 50% of violent crimes and 72% of kids living without fathers. This is on this same video, the one that the guy said, you know, Black people have no culture. So I'm curious, what is the percentage in Benin of violent crimes and children living without fathers? And who's actually keeping track of those statistics? As well as all of the nations around the continent, right? Who's actually keeping track of that stuff? Somebody said, I love this guy. He's 100% correct. And then you see this comment right here, twerking, right? And you see it got 1,319 likes. This is why I talk about this. This is why I'm always challenging Black women. And then you guys turn around and say, oh, well, it started in Africa. He mentioned it in the video. This person is mentioning it. And not to mention the video of the females in Lululemon. It's like, what, 10, 12 Black women in Lululemon, the clothing store, shooting a video, twerking. You go on Hollywood Unlocked, you go on Shade Room, you go on these different accounts, which I follow them because I'm keeping up with what's happening for my headline news episodes. But all you see is women shaking their asses, right? And so this is setting a tone and a projection that's being projected on women like me that ain't with none of that shit, right? That commands respect in every room that I walk in, and that understands the difference between attention versus respect, right? So you are putting a target on Black women and on our culture by leading with your ass. And we're tired of it. And I'm speaking for Black women in America, but I also have talked to so many men and so many brothers, whether it's my friends or in my one-on-one consultations, etc., that are like really tired of seeing this shit. Change the narrative. It's getting old. African American culture is taking all the whitewash things given to us and turning it into an internationally palatable concept. This African is having a conversation about African American culture after African American culture paved the way for him to have this conversation. I agree with that, but I'll also say we haven't only taken whitewash things given to us and turned them into an internationally palatable concept. We have been building, we have been creating, we have been organizing, we have been writing, we have been working, we have been studying, right? We have been meditating, praying, fasting, doing all of the things that righteous, civilized people do. One of the things he talked about was taboos, right? 80% of the Black people that I know that I grew up around, you got to take your shoes off when you walk in the house. That's just off top. In the hood, where you don't even have a religious persuasion, it's kind of known. Don't walk in the shoes with your house off for a multitude of reasons, not just because the cleanliness aspect of it, but the spiritual aspect of it. Nobody ever sat me down and was like, taught me about that. It just always was. Right. And then once I got older and I started having conversations with elders and that, I was able to like trace the root back and get to the nitty gritty of it, so to speak. But that's just one small thing. So, yes, we have turned, lemon into lemonade, but we've also created a lot of things, which I'm going to get into in just a second. So these two videos are both from African men. And I only say African because I don't think they said which particular country they're from. I know Africa is full of a bunch of different countries with different tribes, nationalities, etc. But I wanted to make sure that I showed the representation of African people actually speaking up against this and adding balance into this conversation.
Zano. See, Mr. Zano, you're obviously an intelligent fellow. But it's comments like yours that fuel diaspora wars. It's comments like yours that make work like mine frustrating. Because respectfully, you're being intellectually naive, either because you don't want to do the research or you simply don't want to. You said African Americans can't handle freedom or civil rights because they have no cultural foundation. You said they have no culture. You said they have no taboos, nothing to balance it out. So let me offer you some clarity before you confuse displacement with deficiency. First, I think the question is dishonest. You don't strip people of their land, language, names, gods, and memory, then complain that they can't trace their lineage back to 1462. African Americans didn't lose culture. They forged one in fire. So, Mr. Zanu, here are just some of the values in African American culture. 1. Resilience, the cultural DNA of survival. From slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration, they didn't just endure, they built. 2. Collective uplift, each one teach one. From the church to the block, the goal is always bring your people with you. 3. Self-determination, ask Garvey, ask Malcolm X, ask Black Wall Street. Even in chains, there was always the instinct to self-govern. 4. Respect for elders. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Big mama. Uncle, even if we are not related. Don't get it twisted. That's ancestral. 5. Faith and spiritual power, whether through Christianity, Islam, ancestral reverence, or Yoruba revival. Spirituality is core. 6. Creativity as resistance. Music, dance, style, slang. African Americans turned rhythm and rhyme into shields and swords. 7. Kinship beyond blood. Play cousins, aunties who aren't biological. Because when the system breaks the family, community steps in. 8. Justice and fairness. From civil rights to Ferguson to George Floyd, African Americans don't stop fighting for the oppressed. And then we move on to taboos. Yes, African Americans have taboos too. Plenty. 1. Disrespecting elders, whether you're 5 or 45. Disrespect an elder and you'll feel the culture. 2. Snitching. Beyond street code, it's rooted in survival. If the system wasn't built for you, you don't feed it. 3. Public family shame. Don't air dirty laundry. You protect the house even when it's messy. 4. Coping without credit. Biting someone else's style without acknowledgement. That's a cultural sin. 5. Playing with ancestors. Even non-religious black folk will not speak lightly of the dead or the struggle. That's reverence right there. 6. Selling out. From Uncle Toms to Coons, betraying your people is not just frowned upon, it's named and remembered. 7. Letting the culture die, whether it's jazz, soul food, or the electric slide at a wedding, you carry it forward. So let's be honest, what you're witnessing is not a people with no culture. It's a people who had their culture ripped apart and built another one in a land that never loved them. What you call lack of foundation is actually unrecognized brilliance, because African American culture isn't just about remembering where you come from. It's about reinventing where you can go. And let's be clear, African Americans aren't confused about freedom. They are the reason you get to speak freely right now. You, Mr. Zanu. They didn't mishandle civil rights. They pioneered it for the world to watch. So before I go, culture is not about beads, drums, and ceremonies alone. It's also how people adapt, preserve, and protect themselves, even in exile, even in trauma, even without land. What African Americans did with half a culture, stolen names, and borrowed language is nothing short of a miracle. So no, the issue is not whether they can handle civil rights. The issue is whether we can handle the truth that even after centuries of being displaced, they still managed to build a culture so loud the world couldn't just ignore it. So Mr. Zanu, instead of policing their culture, please try learning from it. Because if you ever face what they've faced, you'll pray to have their resilience.
So
let's move.
I'm going to read your comment in just a second, Prince. I put my Cash App on the screen because if I have to come here and talk to you guys and get disrespected and have to deal with, ingest all this wickedness in the chat room. Hopefully I can at least get some reciprocity. Prince Amir said there are a lot of these talking points on TikTok in regard to the indigenous Black men and women of America. It was advised not to give them any rebuttal to these type of videos. Who was the advisor? that was the first thing I was like, well, who advised that? But yeah, he can't monetize me showing his video here, and I'm all about balance. So I want to make sure that I am giving the full scope of the story, right? I know all Africans don't think like this. I know there are Africans that actually love and respect our culture. There's way more that love and respect our culture than it is, especially in Africa. The irony is that a lot of this anti-Black energy is coming from Africans that actually live here, but then the ones that live back in the continent are watching everything we're doing and modeling after a lot of what our culture is doing. So I'm just presenting these in order to show a flip side of the narrative in terms of the anti-Black versus African sentiment. Truth is the goal for me. Whether it comes from an African, whether it comes from a Black American, truth is the guiding force in this situation, you know? But I appreciate you for saying that, because that's something that I will be cognizant of. Are these people just, I don't even know that TikTok is monetized like that. I don't even know how it works because I'm not on there. So yeah, maybe some of these people are doing it for the right reasons. I would think that they would get more traction though if they were bashing us, because that seems to be, people feed off that negative energy and that anti-energy. But I agree with everything that he said. I thought he made very valuable and poignant points.
African immigrants should stop saying that they're doing better than every other people in America. I am sick of it. African immigrants, hear me. I know many of you really don't like the way I talk, and that's because I speak objectively. You are not doing better than any other racial group or any other person here in America. And the comparison is always with them and Black Americans. I don't know, for some reason, why African immigrants in America always want to compare themselves that they're doing better than Black Americans. You're not doing better than anybody, for real. African immigrants, hear me. You only have an opportunity that you don't have in Africa. Yes, you have an opportunity that you don't have in Africa, and that is why when you explore your skills here in a better environment here in the US, it looks like you're doing better. Ask yourself this question. If you're doing better, why couldn't you do better in Africa? If you're doing better, why are you such in a hurry to run away from Africa, looking for visa in all the African embassy to run away and come to the US? And you come to the US, you want to act like you're doing better because you are able to utilize opportunity you find here in America? It don't make no sense. You should stop it. If you even think that you're doing better in America, who actually made that possible? Black people were the one that actually fought for all the opportunity you get in America, and you're utilizing it and exploring it. Or you want me to remind you about the civil rights movement? What makes you think you can come all the way from Africa to the US and get a job and get paid decently? Isn't that because of the civil rights movement that Black Americans actually fought here in America, giving you and I our liberation, our freedom, our sovereignty to enjoy all the social amenities in America? And for you to just come up and say you're doing better than them? Sometimes we African immigrants, we should, many of us say we have bachelors in Africa before we came to the US, but sometimes we reason like a third grader. I've always said this, African immigrants, when you are about to come to the US, at the show where you bought your flight, drop your fucked up mentality.
Now that was a mic drop right there. Just a reminder for everybody who came in late, I'm speaking in LA Saturday, September 13th, Los Angeles, California. The information for tickets is in my description. Also, I have several things that I'm offering over the next 48 hours that you guys can get information there. I started this out saying I was going to do a double header and do my Walk With Me episode in Leimert Park. The energy in the chat room has kind of thrown me a little bit, so I don't even know if I'm going to do that anymore, to be honest. But if I do, I'm going to go live. When I finish this, I'm going to drive to Leimert Park and go live. But the jury is out on that at this point. I'm not exactly sure.
And remember, I spoke about how South Africa doesn't have...
Let me pause this. So in my book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, I talk about the CDC and how they had posts, had and have posts all through centralized, all throughout Africa, and that they have been weaponizing inoculations in the motherland for more than 30 years now, really more than that, but I'm pinpointing 40 years because that's the timeline that I talked about in the scientific intervention in our affairs. So I didn't go all the way through this dude's content, and some of the other stuff, I did another video where I talked about this. I don't know how many Africans are actually speaking out about what's going on in terms of this scientific war happening in Africa. But if you have enough time to sit around and point your finger and talk about what Black Americans aren't or are not, maybe you need to be actually focusing on this.
Seeds last time, and many people didn't understand what I was talking about. The country is currently making all its staple foods on what are called genetically modified seeds. Monsanto, yes, most of which are disabled from reproducing. Most of which, even if they did reproduce, they would slowly reproduce less and less. This means that we need. Please stop.
People don't understand this. A seed, when you plant it, has an ability that when it bears fruit, the fruit can give you seeds that can be replanted.
Yes.
You are saying there are genetically modified seeds where it will give you fruit, maybe even with pips, but they cannot grow into anything.
Some of those seeds are genetically engineered to have what is called a genetic use restriction technology, that if you try to replant it next season, it won't replant. But more importantly, when you plant it, this genetically modified plant, first time around, when it can still reproduce, it has a power to cross-pollinate, and the pollen will go all across the country, 60-kilometer radius, and they will infect or go to an organic plant and cross-pollinate that plant and turn it into a plant that's got genetic use restriction technology, so that plant won't work. And they can do that again and again all across the country until they destroy the organic seeds, and you're only left with these genetically engineered seeds for your food. So you have to go and buy them every year from a company that is not South African, from a Monsanto that is not South African, from a Bayer that is not South African, from a Syngenta that is not South African, putting you in slavery.
For so scary.
And this so scary. And these companies, Limagrain, which owns a company called Seedco, Limagrain actually destroyed all tomato seeds in Europe, to the extent that right now hybrids are what are left in Europe, and they sell these hybrids from anything from $60,000 a kg to $400,000 a kg. What that means is seeds cost more than a kg of gold. So if we continue to allow that to happen in South Africa, very soon the companies that control these seeds can demand a kg of gold or more for a kg of seeds. And without those seeds, you do not eat. So what we're saying is, it should therefore be common sense for the government of South Africa, Black South Africans, and anybody that considers themselves South African, including the Boers, to make sure that they should be supporting seed producers that produce organic seed or open pollinated seeds, so that we can have seed.
So I hate when people do that, when they post videos and like show the whole thing, right? Anyway, this is not new news. I talked about this 10 years ago in my book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs. Tyrone Hayes, a Black man from America who was a prominent professor and scientist at Cal State Berkeley in California, did a study on Syngenta and the pesticides that were being sprayed, that were being and are being sprayed on the majority of corn as well as other products in the United States, and how those insecticides and pesticides were turning male frogs into female frogs. That's just one aspect of it, right? In terms of the pesticide and insecticide aspect of this. There was a documentary on YouTube. There was, and probably is, I would imagine it's still there, but I saw it like 10 years ago, where they were in India and they were talking about the science of cross-pollination and how, let's say there's a farm in one city and then 10 miles away there's another farm or let's say 5 miles. Farm here and then farm 2 is 5 miles away. Well, as the wind carries the pollination from that plant, it can affect the plants in the farm 2. Sorry, it can affect the plants in farm 2, where it will basically neutralize the ability of those original seeds to reproduce themselves. And now all of a sudden, the GMO seed has taken over the organic seed just through cross-pollination. And now you end up having to purchase from Monsanto, right? So Tyrone Hayes, a Black man, a Black scientist from America, got his life threatened. They tried to threaten to kill him. They ostracized him in the industry and the work that he was doing, right? They did everything to try to minimize this man's work and disassociate him from the studies that he can't, or not disassociate, but to, what's the word I'm looking for? To basically, it's on the tip of my tongue, damn it. You know, to take away his, there's a word, it is not coming to me, but this is why when people say, you know what I mean, negative stuff to you, it's like, it does affect you, because now my energy is off. There's a word for it, I just can't think of it. But they did everything they could, their power, to try to destroy this man in his career. Tyrone Hayes, and I reference him in Black Matters. Also, well, let's watch this other video first, real quick, because this is relative to what I was about to say.
Bill Gates of hell is back at it again, you guys. You guys won't believe what he did this time. Now check this out. The Gates Foundation is about to launch the world's first contraceptive that will prevent women from pregnancy for 8 years. Now he's running this project out of Kenya, and he dumped $2.5 billion into the project, and this is how it works. So the device is inserted into the uterus where it releases progestin. This synthetic hormone thickens a cervical mucus to prevent sperm reaching and fertilizing the egg. This can't be good. Wait, hold up. 8 years? For one, that sounds like population control. And two, there's no historical data on this, so what are the side effects later? But it doesn't stop there. Did you guys know that he is creating a synthetic butter that he wants all of us to eat, that he's going to provide to restaurants, bakeries, markets? Completely fake.
The company is called Savor, and you better believe it. Their pioneering tech uses carbon and hydrogen to make the stick of butter you see on this plate. Not at full capacity in this facility yet.
Hold up. Stop. I know you guys saw that, right? What the hell is slop water? If you guys don't know, let me show you. So, it says here that slop water is a term primarily used in the oil and gas industry to describe water that has become contaminated with hydrocarbons, drilling fluids, and other waste materials. What? You guys, I even caught Grok lying about this. It says slop water was photoshopped in that video, and then I said it's literally in the original video posted by CBS. Then it said, thanks for pointing that out. Upon closer review, it's actually in the video. Then I said, do better, bro. Noted. Accuracy is key. You guys, we got to start fact-checking AI because, come on. So this company, Savor, is funded by Bill Gates, and they're saying that this butter is better for us. It saves us from greenhouse gases and other stuff. It's made with natural flavors and coloring. I'm good. So no cows anymore. Okay, got it. You guys, this is the same guy that told us that to eat bugs was healthier for us because we get our protein. And yet again, we don't have any historical data on this. What are the long-term effects? So at this point, this is what we're going to do, you guys. We're going to sell these Fuck Bill Gates shirts, and if I sell 1,000 of these, we're going to have a...
Yeah, I would never wear a shirt like that, just because I wouldn't even want that dude's name on my chest.
It's so weird watching
Hold on
black...
a second, because I need to go back to this.
And remember,
I would never wear a shirt with that dude's name on my body, not ever. So there's two things I want to say about this video, right? First, the world's first contraceptive that will prevent pregnancy for 8 years in Kenya, that whole thing, right? And not to mention the plethora of things that I have talked about over the last 10 years in the book, in my headline news episodes, all of that. Like the war on Africa has been nonstop, consistent, scientific, biological, technological, right? Every frequency, every possible way you can think of, it has been active, right? So there's the what they're actually doing, and then has Africa produced scientists and technologically minded people that are counteracting this war? Because Tyrone Hayes is one of those people from our people who is counteracting this war. I'm one of those people from our people that is counteracting this war. Where are the scientists and the great minds in Africa that have come forward and said, yeah, they inoculated 3 million of our women. What was it, Kenya? One of the things I talked about in Black Matters. I haven't read the book in so long, so pardon me because I should know this, but I'm pretty sure it was Kenya. They inoculated 3 million of women and children. They didn't even go after the men. They just inoculated the women. So where are the scientists and the doctors that have come forward and said, yeah, they put that poison in our women and our daughters' bodies, but look what we came up with. Here's the remedy. Here's the cure. They're trying to stop our ability to reproduce ourselves. Here's what we've produced as a result. This is why a book like Black Matters was important, the scientific intervention in our affairs. I had a video on this, but I didn't put the video in, but this is relative to the point. A proposed Africa hometowns, there was a protest in Japan, I think it was this past weekend. A proposed Africa hometowns initiative in Japan, framed as a cultural exchange program, has sparked widespread backlash after reports suggested it could open the door to settlement and visas. Thousands of complaints poured into local offices, with many citizens voicing fears of a hidden immigration agenda. Even African governments were said to have echoed the idea of deeper migration ties, fueling the uproar. Japanese officials are now stressing that the project is not about immigration, but for many, the trust has already been shaken. To critics, the controversy reflects a broader global pattern where ambitious international schemes are met with skepticism from citizens who fear being left to shoulder the consequences. Now, there's a number of things here, right? Because I saw ESL one of the brothers did a video in a specific city, and he said there was 300,000 Africans in that city in Japan, and that it's known for that, right? A lot of the Africans go there because it's a very large economic market for trade and shipping, etc. So this is the question that Africa has to ask itself. Why are so many of your people, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush because we're talking about a very large continent, but it's relative to the conversation, trying to escape, while at the same time we have this very strong mass movement of, emphasis and focus in terms of Africa being the next pillar in terms of economics in the next 10 years, let's say. So why aren't the countries and the nations like Ghana, right, and Nigeria, and that are making huge strides, why aren't people from other African nations going there? Why are they taking the risks to come to America, or going to Europe, or going to Japan, or going to places where these people clearly do not want them? And have we seen a large-scale movement of a strong voice from these African nations that say, no, come here. We'll take you in. We'll give you jobs. We'll give you stability. I don't think I've ever in my life heard that happen. We talk about migration, right? People leaving, going and seeking a better life. Why aren't they leaving and going and seeking a better life in Nairobi or Ghana or the multitude of, upward mobility nations in Africa? And then this is the other thing I want to say while I'm thinking about ESL, right? And I wrote this in my notes. All of the Black Americans that are leaving and going and investing in Africa right now, you got Khalees, you've got several people that I know personally. You've got ESL, like I said, the brothers from, y'all know what I'm talking about, Rashid and the other ones, going there and they're building. They got this great building project. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I think that's dope. I just wonder why there's no reciprocity. Why aren't you demanding that, yes, we will come and build properties and build, infrastructure there, but we want reciprocity for you to come to Chicago, for you to come to Detroit, for you to come to, let's say, Gary, Indiana. I've been to Gary, Indiana. It's like a ghost town. And I think it's still a predominantly Black city. Why can't African nations, with all this upcoming wealth and abundance and ability and capability, why aren't they coming to assist our people here? Because even if you have the money to move, you have the money to be a dual citizen, you have the money to go there and do ... right? The majority of our people don't. So we always talk about Oprah, we always talk about Michael Jordan, we always hold celebrities accountable to a certain level that we don't even hold ourselves. I do not understand this. Why are we not making that mandatory in terms of reciprocity so that we can make sure that we're building infrastructure for our people here? Not just out of service, but because it's an actual good business move. There's still a lot of money being made in America. This is still the top tier in terms of the world function. If I had to deal with any devil, the devil I know versus the one that I don't know, I'm dealing with the one that I actually know. I know I can go into a public restroom in pretty much any store in this city and be able to use the bathroom and the water flushes. In California, they have toilet seat covers everywhere. McDonald's has toilet seat covers, okay? I know that I can wash my hands when I go into a restaurant. There is a level of infrastructure here that is very comfortable, even for people who are living in poverty, compared to a third world nation. I don't understand the lack of reciprocity. I don't understand the lack of long-term thinking in terms of the people are here that are here that either don't want to move or that don't have the means to be able to do so. It's very short-sighted in my opinion.
It's so weird watching black people get mad at white people for starting functioning white communities. It's like, you know how happy we'd be to see black people start a functioning black community?
You know what's really weird is when white people try to get on this app and pretend that every time a successful black community has been started, white people didn't jump in and destroy it. Don't believe me? We have multiple examples. Let's start off with Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier looks beautiful, doesn't it? It was a wonderful black community until it got too successful. And then white people ran the black people out of their community, dammed up a river, and flooded their town. It's all right, though. Tons of white people lose their lives every single summer. I don't know why I find it so funny. I do. I find it hysterical. Dumbass white people enjoy their lives on this lake, and the souls of black people take their lives. But there's more. What about Greenwood? You know, Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was incredibly successful. But then there was a claim that a black man hurt a white woman. And so a whole bunch of white men came into the town and set it ablaze, killing over 300 people. It was an incredibly successful town. Until again, set ablaze by white people, because God forbid black people have a successful town. There's another one, Rosewood, Florida. There's not even a town left. White people are that weak. They were successful. They claim in their history, in white people history, that they killed 6 people. It was closer to 200. 200 people that they massacred. Anyways, what were you saying about you'd be so happy if black people created a successful black?
I have to stop this because her voice is irritating me. And the video is pretty much over. But I wanted to show this because it's actually a white woman. And as she was saying this, I was thinking about what you said in the chat room in terms of people monetizing on TikTok. That puts something on my mind. I'm going to be cognizant of that moving forward. And yes, the word I was looking for was discredit, but you guys also said blackballed in the comments, and that's accurate too in terms of Tyrone Hayes. So thank you so much for reminding me, because that's absolutely the word that I was looking for. So this is just one list, and this is stuff that I'm going to cover in my next textbook, Black Legacy, 100 Years of History in Black America. So we've got, and this isn't even the whole list, right? From 1857 all the way up to 1903, we have this continuity of Black people creating infrastructure, creating culture, creating, building, the ability to feed themselves, the ability to be self-sufficient, and these people consistently won't leave us alone, right? And so the African dude, right, and I'm calling him African dude because I'm intentionally, normally I would say his name, but he's earned this from me. The African dude that talked before, Mao Zedong again said, no investigation, no right to speak. How can you not know this? Even the Haitian woman, the first thing she said was hip hop. How are these, why is it not, I don't want to even say mandated, because we're not talking about control or forcing people to do anything. But if you're so interested in our music, if you're so interested in certain aspects of our culture, why aren't you really interested in learning the real truth about our history? Because it's not all bad. We have created many great things. Many, if not most of the great things that this country is now sort of built foundationally on.
We must put America first. This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything. And now it's AI. We invented everything. Does anyone have anything else to say?
To the person that asked me, have I ever been outside of the U.S.? Yes, I have.
The Africans over there, the American black people are not the same. We inherently know this. This is knowledge that we are all interpreting from our DNA. The Pan-African movement was a psychological operation to solidify our disconnection from our source vibration. The vibration of the heart chakra is equivalent to the love frequency. The love frequency in numerology is also a mother code. It's the vibration of maternal energy. This is the frequency that you tap into when you connect to your divine femininity. Now, we as a people, our melanated people, this is why I don't use that word to describe us, because when I say black, I am being very much specific, because the blackness I am referring to is not related, the corporate spell that they put on you, where you think that it means dead or void of light, because the etymology of the word black is white. So when you take it a step further in that regard, we are not talking about black and brown people as far as the skin color. We're talking about the genetic codes that we do not share with each other. The genetic codes which we incarnate into. That is, if you think of your mind as a computer, black people are running a totally different program, a default program, the motherboard, the foundation of the entire system, which determines how we connect to the cosmic realm is totally different than that of the Africans. This is not to disrespect by any means. The culture in Africa is Black American indigenous culture. The Moors that are from Europe are part of the artificial construct, because the original Moors were the Murs. If you look at the word Mur in terms of metaphysics, it is an ancient Egyptian term that means light as well as pyramid. The difference between the pyramids in America, which far predate those in Africa, is the arcal rather than angular nature, because we know that straight lines don't exist. Straight lines are associated with the masculine, which is the physical 3D realm. The pyramids that are in America, which we call mounds, are rounded on purpose, because if you think of a woman who is giving birth, her stomach is essentially that mound, because she is slowing down the vibration of the light that is growing inside of her in order for it to project outside of her through the birthing process as physical matter. America is the original land of the people. Mer, Ika. Ka meaning spirit, I meaning the I am, Mer meaning light, and Ah meaning God. This is why they try so hard to distort us on a genetic level so that we cannot access or remember, let alone, who we truly are.
So I don't agree with everything she said, but I wanted to show this video because, again, I'm trying to give different sort of vantage points about this thing. The point about source vibration and being disconnected on a spiritual level, on a vibrational level, what she's saying is actually not accurate, because it depends on your personal individual vibration that's going to, sort of set the tone for how you're operating in the world, right? What consciousness creates reality, not whether you're from Africa or from America, Black in America or not. I know we can't conceive that because we're dealing with third dimensional reality, but it's just a fact. This is a vibrational situation, and depending on how you eat, how you think, how you live, how you breathe, and how you eat, how you feel, how you think, how you live, and how you breathe is what's going to determine the outcome of your life, whether you're born in Africa or whether you're actually born in America, right? The concept of the straight lines with the pyramids versus the mounds, there are also mound pyramids in Kemet, Imhotep created the Step pyramid, but there was also a mound pyramid that was not too far from there. There are mound pyramids found in Africa. There's also mound pyramids found in South America, right? But the whole argument about the straight line, it's like once you create something that is so such a physical representation of geometry, what those pyramids are, whether we're talking about Sudan or Nubia, or whether we're talking about the ones that are in Kemet, the triangular shape, right? Triangular shape is an actual sacred geometry shape, right? So that's something that can be found within the organic, natural representation of geometry. So I'm not with all of that, but certain things that she said in terms of, even when she referenced the Ka, right? In Kemet, in the Ka, in the Ba, black, I've heard this argument for so long that black is the opposite of the etymology of white, of the word white, but Kemet means the land of the blacks, right? Saudi Arabia in its original definition actually means the same thing in terms of the land of the blacks. So I never really, and I don't like to get into the linguistics arguments because then people get stuck on that, and it's not something to get stuck on. The universe is triple darkness. You know what I mean? If you look up in the sky at night and there's no light pollution outside of the stars, it's just darkness. It's blackness, right? This is another story that I'm going to cover in my next textbook as well.
In the early 1900s, the Grand Canyon was still the Wild West. Before it became a national park, before it was fenced off and sanitized for tourism, it was open ground, an untamed landscape of cliffs, caves, and uncharted territory. And in 1908, just as President Theodore Roosevelt prepared to lock it down forever, one last explorer slipped through the gates. His name was G.E. Kincaid. Officially, he was working a mineral survey. Unofficially, he was chasing legends. Kincaid took a small boat down the Colorado River. About 40 miles upriver from El Tovar Crystal Canyon, he saw something strange. Discoloration in the sediment, far above the waterline. He tied off his boat, climbed the canyon wall, and found steps. Not natural erosion, not a game trail. These were carved, ancient, and winding up into the stone like a forgotten staircase to somewhere no one was meant to find again. At the top, hidden beneath desert brush, was the mouth of a cavern. The entrance, too, was clearly man-made. Inside, Kincaid found nothing that made sense, at least not if you believe the standard history of North America. The walls were covered in strange symbols, hieroglyphs, not Hopi, not Mayan, not anything local. They looked Egyptian, but not quite. He went deeper. Chambers opened up, dozens of them, hundreds. Rooms laid out like a complex, like an ancient city, buried within the rock. There were mummies, statues, tools and weapons forged from copper and other metals, some still unknown today. He found a crypt filled with perfectly arranged skeletal remains, each resting on carved shelves, accompanied by urns and broken swords. All the mummies were male. Elsewhere, there were storage rooms, granaries still holding seeds, pottery lined neatly on stone shelves. There were signs of metallurgy, slag and mat from a smelting operation, workbenches still littered with charcoal. These people had mastered the art of copper hardening. They weren't primitives, they were engineers. And then there was the statue, a massive figure carved from black stone, seated cross-legged in the lotus position, a flower in each hand. Not Egyptian, not Native American. Something else, something foreign, something sacred. Kincaid estimated the complex could have housed 50,000 people. He sent artifacts and documentation to the Smithsonian.
So, again, we have to contextualize this, right? Because they put the Anunnaki in North America right there. And a lot of people use the Anunnaki just like they use Tartaria, where it's like, and I'm not saying these places in these civilizations didn't exist, but it's kind of like one of those things where you can kind of throw that as something and people will relate it to something that they heard online or something that they might have read and don't necessarily need proof, right? There's nothing that was found in this particular, space that I would correlate to the Anunnaki, right? And I know the history of the story of the Anunnaki, right? But I'm just saying, there's no images like this found, and there's no images of this visual in terms of a Native American. There's nothing in there that represents that imagery. So this is why, especially in the age of AI, we have to have discernment to be able to decipher these things. What they did find in the Grand Canyon was a Buddha that looked like an Asiatic black man. And if you have my textbook, Ancient People, you know that I have images in the section that covers the Chinese Rebellion in the early 1900s, where you can see these very dark-skinned Chinese men who created a form of martial arts using spiritual techniques in order to get these foreigners out of their lands. But these were black, dark-skinned, Asiatic men, right? So this Buddha that's sitting in a lotus posture looks like, and I have an image of it and I'm going to put it in my book, an actual Asiatic black man. Then there was also a pharaoh, an Egyptian pharaoh or a Kemetic pharaoh. Then there was also the hieroglyphs, right? Then there was also, I think it was 300 mummies, if I remember correct, but they were all in this perfect lining along the wall. Something you would expect in a place where they have tractors and the type of physical apparatuses that can move this type of stuff around in a cave, though, in the Grand Canyon. That's like a few hours for me. So you got a pharaoh, you got a Buddha, you got hieroglyphics, you got the Asiatic black man, you got the mummies right here in America. And for some reason, they don't want us to go in there and see that. Okay? Somebody in the comments said, and I wanted to read it. Yeah, the Grand Canyon was locked down for a reason. Exactly. That's exactly why I'm about to put it in my book and tell the world. Oh, y'all hey Shah. Culturally, we aren't even African because we are not over there experiencing the atmosphere. So by default, we're going to function on a different vibration. That's a fact. And even when I talk about like when the Greeks went to study under the pharaohs, and the pharaohs gave them a certain amount of information for them to take back, and then they created the Grecian Renaissance period, if you will. But even the information that they give them, they didn't have the source and the information and the wisdom and the coding to be able to unlock the jewels in the information that they gave them. That's why Greek philosophy is so quote unquote hard, because the shit doesn't make any sense. Because they didn't have the wisdom to be able to translate and transmute. It's not just about translating the hieroglyphs. It's also about being able to transmute the wisdom. This is why we can have books like the Medu Neter and the Kabbalion amongst us. I got both of those books, right? And the average person might read those books and not be able to just decipher the wisdom. Because there is jewels that are particular to a certain period of time. And if you want to tap back into that energy, you have to follow the procedures, the spiritual procedures that they follow in order to tap back into that. So even some of the stuff the sister said is coming back in my mind right now. Again, it's like the history aspect is one thing. The spiritual and the vibrational aspect is another thing. You have to be able to have discernment to be able to link those two when it's necessary, and then to be able to separate those two when it's necessary. There is a very large portion of Native American people who are, men in particular, who are addicted to alcohol, who are suffering from alcoholism, right? These would be some of the original inhabitants of this country, but they have not developed the ability to establish discipline and to tap back into the God self to be able to circumvent that part of the war. So they've neutralized a very large population of that community. And we say, well, they put us all on reservations. The reservation should be popping. You got land. Okay, it might not be the best quality land, but we live in the era of technology now. Why aren't the reservations meccas for culture and meccas for building and meccas for organization and meccas for education? Why aren't we sending our children to major, powerful Native American universities in Arizona and in Oklahoma and in different places where the reservations are? If we send them to the white man, why wouldn't we send them to them? They've neutralized the personal power and the genetic coding, if you will, of those people from their ancestors. So that point was very well stated. And thank you for saying that, because that's critical. Even with a lot of us here now, we talk about lineage. Oh, it's all about lineage. It's all about bloodline. Not if you can't get your ass up every day and make your bed up. Not if you don't take care of your children. Not if you're not doing anything to improve the quality of your life. Not if you're a weak-minded man or a weak-minded woman who is addicted to their lower nature, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol. What is your lineage really doing for you? It's been neutralized like a calcified pineal gland. So vibrationally, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, those, and physically, but I'm emphasizing the spiritual aspect of this. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and tap back into the God self, whether you're in America or in Africa or wherever you are in the world. And she made that point about the Moors and the Mers. I don't want to get all into that because I'll go all the way left, but I'm not getting all the way into it because I'm getting ready to put it in my next history textbook. So I don't even need to make the point now. But you know, I have a whole chapter on the Moors in Spain in Ancient People. And I talk about those original Moors who came from Northern Africa and the tribes that they came from and whatnot. So this is, you know, who was first is important. But just like I said with yoga, we argue about whether yoga came from India or whether it came from Africa. And a lot of people are like, well, it came from Africa. But who is maintaining it? Who's maintaining yoga on a global level? Which culture, which people, which history, right? Because it's like, and that goes to your point as well. It's one thing that you started it, but to be able to maintain a certain level of consciousness and awareness to continue it so that it lives on forever, different conversation. Thank you for that point. That was very important. I think my screen is stuck. Okay, here we go. Let me make sure I'm on the right page. I'm almost done. I think this is my last slide, actually. No, I have one more after this. Again, I said I was going to do my walk with me. When I leave here, I'm going to Leimert Park anyway. We'll see. It might be a double header where I go live and walk you guys through Leimert Park. I just got to get my energy back centered because those of you guys who came in late, I had to deal with a lot of really negative trolls or peasants. They're not all trolls and they're not all bots. Trust me, a lot of these people are human beings. So, you know, you get enough daggers thrown at you and enough negative energy thrown at you, and a sensitive person such as myself, yeah, it's a thing. But to go back to his point about now having culture, right? I'm going to read you guys a list that I wrote before I started this, and this is just a small glimpse of what just came off the top of my mind. So in Los Angeles, Atlanta, Oakland, Dallas, Houston, and Chicago, I know a lot of Black people that are in development, that have built schools, that have built institutions. So we're on our square here. Not all of us, but a lot of us are. Soul Folks, the place that I'm going to be speaking next week, is Black owned. Not only is the business Black owned, but the whole entire building with several other commercial spaces is Black owned. The Nation of Islam has mosques all across this country, as well as schools in every major city in this country. Whether you agree with the ideology or not, it does not matter. These are spaces where you can send Black children where they will go to get a higher standard of learning and to be taught by Black people who love them, that are not going to try to inoculate them without their parents' permission, or, you know, clown them because they got pigtails in their hair, or talk about how dark their skin is or how big their nose and their lips are. These are safe spaces for our children. There's the Marcus Garvey School here in Los Angeles, which I'm going to do a video soon about that. There's Ile Omade in Oakland, which is an African-centered Black school. These are just the ones that came off the top of my head. Not to mention that I had Cooperative Economics support our schools, and I, for a year and a half, raised money for Black African-centered schools all across this country. So you're talking about what is Black culture? All of the above. You got Muhammad Ali, you got Minister Farrakhan, you got Elijah Muhammad, you got Taj Tariq Bey, you got the Moorish Chinese Temple, you got the spiritual leaders like Michael Beckwith, Nuri Muhammad. You have so many influencers, Black influencers. one of the things that I said to one of the people in the comments, because I said what I needed to say in the comments, but one of the people was like something to the effect of, all your people do is destroy each other and kill each other, or something to that effect. I guarantee you, any Black person outside of America, around the world, any nationality around the world, you can name at least 20 Black people off the top of your head that whether it's in politics, whether it's in art, whether it's in music, whether it's in film, right? Whether it's writers, which is some of the people that I'm going to talk about in just a second. You know so much about my culture. I don't know anything about yours. Actually, I do. I know a lot more than most people know about yours. But Benin, going back to that. And I was going to do like a whole little go into the ancient Benin masks, right? Because at one point, Benin was very prominent in terms of art and culture. And they're very well known for their masks. You guys probably can, think of it, how they look. But I'm not doing all of that. And then that was history. We're talking about today, right? So let me make sure I read my list right before I go to this next point. The negative projection and feeding off of our energy. We have developers, we have scientists. I mentioned Tyrone Hayes. We have Black-owned hotels. There's a sister that owns a luxury Black-owned hotel in Virginia. She's from America. She has one in Jamaica. What's the name of it? Salamander. We have so many clothing lines. We have all of the beautiful, wise, powerful people that have gone to the HBCUs, as well as the professors, as well as the alumni. We have the Black college bands. Have you ever been to a Black HBCU halftime show with a Black college band? I know I'm not saying it right, but y'all know what I'm saying. It's a word for it. It's not coming to me. Not to mention music, not to mention entertainment, sports. Stop playing with me. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, and that's just the tip of the conversation. Artists, poets, intellectuals, the Black bookstores. I got this book this past week, Prose to the People. This is a celebration of Black bookstores. We're talking about keepers of knowledge all across this country, in America. Okay? What do you mean we don't have any culture? And it's full of Black writers. Literature, I said intellectuals, literature, Black bookstores. I mean, not to mention I've written 7 books. Somebody put a comment on one of my videos earlier today and said I fell off. What are you talking about? I've written 7 books. What more do you want from me? Social justice programs, how many street fighters? We talk so much about places like Chicago and LA where they have these high propensities for gangs. We don't never hear about the street soldiers that are out in the community, gangs that have changed their lives, that have gone back and are actually looking out for these brothers and sisters and trying to make a change. They don't never get attention. Social justice programs, etc., etc. The nigga is a genetically modified organism created by the white man. I'm going to say that again. The nigga frequency, that's the right way to say it, is a genetically modified algorithm and program and reflection of a human being that was created by the white man. But with crack cocaine, with heroin, with drugs, with alcohol, like Schlitz malt liquor and all of the shit that you can easily go to your corner store and get. The prison industrial complex, genetically modified food, cultural theft, abuse times 400 years, taking land. You're not qualified to judge us. And it's almost making me not want to, that concept of the motherland, right? I'm a mom. I'm a mother. If my son, well, no, I can't use my son. Sorry. I can't even make a hypothetical representation using my son and have it mean anything negative. If a person's child, who they put all their heart and soul into and gave sacrifice and did everything for, goes out into the world and bangs up a school, right? The parent can't stand back and say, well, listen, I didn't have anything to do with that. I did what I was supposed to do. No, everybody's looking at the parent. I don't hear any sort of wisdom, any sort of elderly, You know what I mean? We love our Black people. We just want you to get it right. We love you. We just want to help you. We love you. We just want you to come back to your culture. There's no connection. There is a major disconnect. Okay? And I think Black people who are, you know what I mean, like navigating in and out of Africa, we need to be cognizant of that. Because as the person in the comments said, we are radiating on a different type of frequency. This is a spiritual war that the world is in right now. Who do we think is going to lead us out of this? Respectfully, who else could but us here in America? And now I'm talking about the Kabbalion, and I'm talking about the pendulum swing, and the more difficulty, the more suffering, the more chaos, the more traumatic the experience, the pendulum has to swing to the equal or opposite end. We've been being prepared for this for a very long time now, and it's only a small number of us, but trust and believe it is us here. Now, if you can pinpoint anybody in the world that's spiritually grounded and solidified enough to be able to take on that position, please point them out to me. I'd love to have that conversation. I hope somebody sends this guy this message because I'm just scratching the surface. I didn't even mean to talk this long. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, the ISIS Papers. You haven't even read her book. You're not qualified to speak on my people. Dr. Harriet A. Washington wrote Medical Apartheid, which is an encyclopedia of wisdom about science and medicine and how they've used technology against our people. You're not even qualified to speak on our people unless you read that book. The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Neely Fuller Jr. You're not even qualified to speak on our people unless you read that book. And I'm not even on the racism, white supremacy frequency at all. Because there's nothing supreme about white people or racism. I don't even use that language, but for this conversation, and depending on what level you're operating at, yeah, you need to read that book. Or come square up with a real intellectual scholar. And when I say square up, you guys know what I mean, you know, that's the hood in me sometimes it takes over. But of course, I mean that in terms of intellectualism. That is one debate I would be willing to take. Nina Simone, that's Black culture. Billie Holiday, that's Black culture. Henrietta Lacks was an African-American woman whose cancer cells are the source of the HeLa cell line, the first immortalized human cell line and one of the most important cell lines in medical research. She was a Black woman from America, in America. So what are we really saying? And again, I'm just scratching the surface. These notes in my notepad, you see this? I just sat down and wrote this down before I started talking. I didn't even really get in depth with this, but I can't. I'm going to leave you guys with this video by one of my favorite poets, just to double down on the point about Black culture. Stop playing with us. You, the white rednecks, all of you guys, you're all on the same vibration. This is why I say we've passed the point of race-based consciousness, because you can have an African man operating on the same frequency as a redneck chewing tobacco in Backyard Boogie, Alabama, operating on the same frequency as a serial killer in Chicago taking out young Black men. I don't have a dog in any of those fights. Just like a lot of you guys who are in this whole conversation trying to beef up this beef between Black people and Africans, but you won't talk about Bill Gates, but you won't talk about the shot, but you won't talk about what's actually happening in our schools, how much content has been made about Umar Johnson over the past, 4 or 5 months, but you won't talk about all of the African-centered Black schools that have been open and up for 10, 20 years? It's not serious. I don't believe any of you guys. If I do the walk with me today, you guys will see me go live. If not, you guys will see me when you see me. I put all the information in the description. I'm probably going to do it, but I don't know. I'm telling you, I got to really get that energy up off of me. The devil has been, you know what I mean, trying to nudge at my spirit my whole entire life. I know when it walks in the room. So we'll see what happens. But I want to leave you guys with this beautiful poem. Wait, I think I have another one after this. Let me make sure. Okay, no, I don't. I want to leave you guys with this beautiful poem by Sonny Patterson. Thank you so much to those of you guys who sent super chats. Thank you to, thank you to Michael, and somebody else sent another Cash App. Thank you guys so much for the love. I appreciate the support. And I only put my Cash App on the screen because if I got to sit here and deal with this type of stuff, you know what I mean? It's a different type of mindset I have to deal with to like get through this stuff. Reese, thank you so much. I appreciate you. So let's end with Sonny Patterson, and I will see you beautiful people. Those of you guys who came with love very soon.
New Orleans, Sonny Patterson.
So I'm from a stock that pitch cocktail bombs and hand grenades. We pour cayenne pepper around the perimeter of a building to keep the police dogs at bay. I'm the Panther Party in a Desire housing projects in New Orleans. I'm a nigga turning the gun on the National Guards. Take a long, long look. I'm a cook in the kitchen asking the missus to taste the dinner. Take a long, long sip, cause death ain't always this good. It's eyes popping out they sockets. It's a lifeless body rocking backwards and forwards. It's a boy stabbed 40 sometimes in front of the church house. It's a man 43 years old stuffing his penis in a 9-year-old girl's mouth. No, death don't always taste good. Just don't sound like something I want to eat often. I hear them say it was like a train came through the room, left mama so depressed she was unable to move until one day, a few months after the hurricane, husband and child found the Trinity bloody in bed, his wife, son, a daughter dead, and on the end table there was a letter that read, I couldn't stay here, not for 1 minute longer, and it made no sense for me to leave here alone, because who would take care of my babies with their mama gone? I'm telling you, death ain't always good. It'll leave you finning for water and food. It'll riddle up your body in an Audubon ballroom. They'll El Hajj Malik El Shabazz you, crown you king, then dethrone you in a Lorraine hotel. They'll disfigure your body to where folk can't tell if you Emmett Till or not. Tell them, mama, keep that casket open. Let all the world see it ain't just burning in Mississippi. Hell is hot wherever you be, from the rooftop to the cell block. Step on up to the auction block, bend over, touch your toes, show your teeth, lift her titties, examine his balls. It damn near sound like a hip-hop song, but it's slavery at its peak. A circus for all the freaks. They'll warn you, caution when you speak. Can't afford the truth to leak, but we'll say blessed are the meek, and all the ones who make peace, and all the ones who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. For we say theirs is the kingdom. Earth is their inheritance, so no matter how treacherous, they'll try to trap us in them trenches. They'll dig deeper ditches, but all that matters is this: which side will we pick? Which path will we choose? Either win or lose, because death don't come in vain. Not for us to remain enslaved or our spirits to remain in cages. It comes so we might be courageous to fulfill our obligation to our God and all creation, and stand in determination, able to look death in the face and say, we made it, we made it, we made it, we made it.
Yeah, that's Black culture. That's Black culture. Stop playing with us, because I promise you, y'all don't want the smoke. And I don't even mean that on a light confrontational means. I mean spiritually. Y'all do not want the smoke. Touch not my anointed ones. Everywhere we walk, everywhere we stand is holy ground. And I mean the chosen ones who choose themselves. Society, I hid your comments, hid you from being able to comment in my chat room. You're always, I don't mind the antagonism normally, but if you see me here frustrated because people are attacking me in the chat room and being disrespectful and insulting me, then I would think that you would use that as a time where you would pivot and ease back with that type of energy, right? So much love to Sonny Patterson. Very, 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 very powerful queen. Think about Def Poetry Jam. I could have pulled up 10 poets back to back to back to back to back. Not to mention I'm a poet myself. Not to mention rap and hip hop in its true, organic, authentic form is poetry. And again, I could go on. I'm only scratching the surface. Thank you so much, Brooklyn. I appreciate the Cash App. Thank you for you guys who have blessed me with the love on Super Chats. And I might see you guys in just a little bit. If you guys can stomach two back-to-back videos from me, it just depends on what my energy is. Much love to Brother Jamil Muhammad and all the beautiful souls in the chat room. Those of you guys who have held me down. I don't really need a moderator. You can moderate. It's only when I talk about certain things. It's only when I talk about these type of conversations. And yeah, it is what it is. I'll see y'all soon. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I have a whole list of things in the description that you guys can check out that I talked about in the beginning of the video. Thank you so much for rocking with me. And I will see you beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.